What's up, and War Eagle to the War Report family? We are here another weekend tailgate. As you can see, now brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. We'll talk a little bit more about them, but today we're discussing the transfer portal. Has Coach Hugh Freeze done an admirable job? Is he the portal king? We'll talk about it right here in your weekend tailgate. Let's get to it.
This is the weekend tailgate. Brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. C-Dub. Ike Joe. Be Will. By G. You are now listening to
the weekend tailgate right here, brought to you by Golden's Cast Iron. You got Ike Jones in here, Mike G, B Will, C-Dub has a day off, man, but we're here. The weekend tailgate sponsored by new sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron, man. If you guys want to get some high quality, American made cast iron products, they're doing everything from grills to fire pits to kettlebells. They have a litany of products for everything that you guys need to hang out, cook out, do whatever you want to, man. Y'all can go over to Golden's Cast Iron and get that hooked up and tell them the War Report sent you, man. We are here. You guys need to be doing the due diligence first and foremost. That's sharing the video. Go ahead and get out there. Share the video. We're talking today about the transfer portal. Coach Hugh Freeze doing his work in his first offseason here with Auburn. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot of great things coming up for you guys. And Mike G, you want to tell the people why it makes a lot of sense for them to change the name over to green in the live chat? Muted.
Join the Green Name Gang by becoming a patron. $5.99 a month will get you there. We got a lot of great things going on at the War Report. You don't want to miss it. So if you have been seeing these film breakdowns, listen, nobody's doing content like this. Some of that is behind our paywall. If you want to get access, become a patron. Hit that join button on YouTube. If you're on your iPhone, it might say it's a little bit more expensive, but that's just because iPhone adds the iPhone fee. So log in from a computer. You'll see $5.99. You can sign up there. You can also give the gift of the War Report. Oh, that's Golden's Cast Iron. You can give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. This is a great way to spread our channel to those who have not made the decision to sign up yet. YouTube started this program. You guys have been taking advantage of this by gifting memberships. Every live cast, it seems like somebody gifts a membership. So YouTube chooses you at random to receive this. Watch out for that email. If you're not currently a member, you may receive an email saying somebody gifted you a membership. After the first month, you got to make the choice to continue. We hope that you'll do that. So we appreciate everybody who does that. Guys, every live cast, we're giving something away. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments to get into that live cast. We're giving away a mug today. So at the 1 hour mark, you guys know the drill. We'll be drawing for this mug. So stay tuned. You got to be here to win. Hashtag get your weight up. We'll remind you guys at the midway point of the show. Check us out on podcasts. We're on every single podcast platform there is. The Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, Amen Corner, Mike Mackey and Memes. Guys, we've got podcast original content coming at you guys. And just want to reiterate, new show sponsor, Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com to check out all the products that they have there. Ike and I got a tour of Golden's Cast Iron. And let me tell you something. We got, they grilled on the cast iron grill for us. This is, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. This is a lifetime product, by the way, that you buy. When you buy a grill from Golden's Cast Iron, the dumbbells are crazy. They do custom stuff there in the factory too. Homegrown in Columbus, GA. So if you're from the area, if you're from the Auburn area, it's pretty much home. Please check them out. They're a great local sponsor. Also, a great local employer as well, doing a lot for the community. Their family has been a part of the community in and around the Columbus, Phoenix City, Auburn area for a long time. So we appreciate them coming on as a show sponsor.
Yeah, no, it was a great experience for myself and Mike to go check out their foundry where they're making all of the products, right? And so the cast iron stuff that they're doing is kind of their commercial product that they're doing for direct to consumer. So you guys, again, you can go there and get yourself a high quality Komodo style grill. You can get the fire pits that they've got out there. You can go get the barbells and dumbbells and kettlebells that they're doing. All of those things made right there, and then they've got some workout gear and things like that as well. So a lot of great stuff available for you there, man. I had
listen. The cast iron grill I'm trying to get from my dad for Father's Day. It was, I mean, it's an unbelievable product, and like I said, it's a lifetime product that they make. So once you buy this grill, you never need to buy another grill. Sure. One quick story. While we were doing the tour, they took us by the like melting pot where they like boil the you know what I mean? Like
they melt down the steel into the
steel.
Actual,
right. Yeah. And so the guy that runs it, I'm like trying to get a picture of the heat, and he leans over to me. He was like, the heat from this thing is why we went to Sunday school on Sundays. I started dying. It was hot.
Yeah, it was definitely. We were like 10 feet away, and it felt like it was on the back of my neck. So.
Oh my goodness, right? Yeah. So it was cool to be able to see that process, and then also see the guys who work in there, essentially in the jobs that really make America go. Right. Yeah. The place where a lot of the products that we use, like this is the beginning of that process. Like these guys are true creators. I was humbled to be able to watch them work, for the day.
For sure. All right. Well, let's get into today's conversation. We're going to start the portal conversation talking about a new addition to the portal, from the portal. We got a new transfer over from Liberty. A young man by the name of Steven Sings came over, transferred from Liberty, edge player, 6'3", 225, former 3-star player from Charlotte, North Carolina. So he was homegrown there in the area where Liberty University is, but comes over to Auburn now as part of that edge room. Guys, have you had an opportunity to check out this young man? Anything on him?
Yeah, I have actually. And so this is a pretty good pickup for Hugh Freeze. Guys, it's, again, I can't stress enough. We talked about this, I think, on a drop. Hugh Freeze is really attacking areas of need on this team. So they went out and they, again, another pickup to try to bolster the jack position. Yeah. Right. Because he is a candidate for that position. And we know how important that's going to be in Ron Roberts' defense. So going out and getting Steven Singh, and let's be honest, a guy he's familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Getting a guy he's familiar with, a player he's familiar with, I think is important. So I like the pickup. Like you said, former 3-star, but now he's got some college experience. Right. So obviously they think that he can come in and contribute immediately. It's going to be interesting to see how he kind of integrates into the process this summer, and then ultimately going into the fall, whether he plays a significant role. They're going to rotate some guys at that position, right? So with Dylan Brooks exiting and no longer a candidate for that, you had to fill some roles, right? You got to fill a starting role because you didn't have a starter. You got to fill a backup role. So all these guys will be vying, to be a part of what I call New Jack City.
Okay.
I was looking at B for you can't see me, but I was looking at B for approval.
It's cool.
I just stick the ladder, but yeah, New Jack City. We're gonna start that. Ike, make the graphic. Cue the graphic.
We already got the Jack boys. Now we got New Jack City for the Jack position. I got you. B. Will, have you had a chance to check out Steven Sings, the new transfer linebacker edge player?
I have not. I've been trying my best to finalize that intro. We got it done just in the nick of time.
Yeah.
But telling everybody business.
Hey man, it's all right, man. We got it done. It's fine. But yeah, I was thinking that we hadn't heard an upbeat report about Ukwu. And I think that was the last true edge we had. So this seems like a Garrett
he went to El Miss, by the way.
Okay. So we didn't get him. So it seems like Garrett, the defensive line coach Garrett and Hugh Freeze said, all right, so just in case, let's have somebody on the line. And this was our backup plan. There's nothing wrong with having a backup plan, especially somebody that you're already familiar with. So if he was good enough to play for Hugh Freeze and Coach Garrett there, my guess is they're already familiar enough with him to know that he wouldn't be a liability here, or else they wouldn't bring him in. He said clearly that he is not about bringing in guys just for the sake of having bodies. that he actually wants to bring in guys who he feels like will improve the room. So I don't think this is a negative, because we were, I think, in dire need of another true edge. We needed another one. And by everybody's report, I think Ike is the first person I actually heard say this, that Keldrick Falk is a more defensive end than edge. So, and I've heard Corey actually echo this in the chat plenty of times. Hopefully what they're trying to do is free up Falk to play defensive end as well. So you got two jacks. So you have depth at the jack position or the edge position. And now let Keldrick Falk start to turn into the monster he can be at his true natural position. So hopefully that's what this will be.
Yeah, I'm definitely. So I too have not had a chance to really get any tape on the young man. I went and looked at some statistics, of course, but I like to actually get in and look at film on him. But heard some good things about him. So looking forward to seeing how he contributes to that room. When we're talking about the edge position for Auburn right now, we're looking at Elijah McAllister, of course, still in that room.
Then Liberty, they led the NCAA in like sacks last year.
Oh, they were very productive.
Yeah,
they were good.
Yeah, I mean, they were one of the most productive D lines, in the country last year. Now, competition has a lot to do with that, but what little I could find, he looked pretty good rushing the passer, and that is what Auburn is going to need, I think, on defense this year, to kind of help out the linebackers and the back end with the defensive backs. Now, I think we have a pretty good defensive backfield, but it gets easier to play that position when you got a quarterback under duress. Right. So having, this guy, possibly in the backfield, disrupting the backfield and disrupting the quarterback, I think makes it adds another layer of depth to the defense that Auburn is really going to need this year, because year one is going to be full of ups and downs. And what we've known about Auburn historically is that they've been more consistent on defense than they have on offense by a long shot.
For sure.
So I don't think that that's something that can go away under Hugh Freeze. Right now, he had what do they call it, the land shark defense or whatever. And I thought it was funny because they made plays at times, but they were fairly porous at times as well too.
They were opportunistic though. They definitely
were very opportunistic defense.
Turnovers with that defense.
Yeah. So I just wonder if it's going to look the same. Because if it's going to look the same, we're on for one hell of a ride, right? Like and I don't say that in a good way. Like, I mean, it's going to be an emotional roller coaster
for sure,
right? Of just, you know what I mean? Like, so get ready for that. And if they can improve on that, Ron Roberts can improve on that. I'll be interested. Now, mind you, it's going to be different than what Hugh Freeze has had in the past, I think, a little. But obviously, when he hired him, his philosophies aligned with what he thought. And, I just hope that takes the better elements of that old school land shark defense and then provides a little bit more consistency, and also that they can close out games. Now, when you think about all the coaches who have made a run at Nick Saban over the last few years, Hugh Freeze is one of the few that was able to get going and close the deal. Right? Like, one of the few coaches that's been able to actually get going versus Nick Saban and then have the game plan and the foresight in planning to close the deal. And we've seen so many people get up on Nick Saban, and then seemingly they forget how to coach in the fourth quarter. And Nick Saban is like, we've been here before. We'll come back. We have the athletes. We have the game experience. So I'm excited about this for Hugh Freeze. I think, we joked with him in the interview that we did, Ike, that he's in a short club of people to own not one but two wins versus Nick Saban, and in back-to-back years. And I don't think I don't think that's a small thing. I don't think that's something that can be overlooked.
He's the only one to do it in back-to-back years.
Oh, he's the only one to do it in back-to-back years.
Yes. Yeah. Not the only one with multiple, but the only one back-to-back.
Yeah. So, I think it's going to be significant in the years to come when we're looking back on this Iron Bowl, recent history, what will be recent history, and saying, how well did he close games? How many opportunities did he have to actually get the win in the Iron Bowl? And it's going to be important too, I think, this defense, getting the jack position right and being able to rush the passer and having this kid come in is going to be really important to changing the narrative in the Iron Bowl when it comes to playing Alabama in Tuscaloosa, right? Outside of 2010, that game has been a butt whooping.
Yep.
Right. And I think maybe 2014 we went in there and it was
we roasted them up for like
it was 55
two and a half quarters,
something crazy. I think Nick Marshall threw for the most yards ever of any quarterback in Iron Bowl history.
Yeah.
On the Auburn side at least. But like 400 something yards be?
Yeah. He threw for over 400.
Him,
Duke Williams, and Sammy Coates, they put on a show that night.
Yeah, they did.
Man.
But outside of that, it's been a lot of blowouts in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
It's not been competitive. So, Hugh Freeze he's got to be able to go on the road in an off year and get a win in Tuscaloosa, right? And I think that you do that, guys, with defense. Personally, right? That year that I'm talking about, 2014, we scored a lot of points and lost. Right? 99 total points scored in that game. Auburn lost.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to stop what they're doing because Alabama has transitioned from being a defensive powerhouse in the late, in like kind of like the 08 to 012 era to being an offensive juggernaut.
The 012 era.
012 era. I don't know.
I saw somebody say this in the comments.
The 08 to 012 era is what I'm saying.
Point of clarity. The only coach to beat Nick Saban at Alabama in back-to-back seasons because he's lost in back-to-back seasons to other coaches. And Tuberville beat him in back-to-back seasons, but one of them was at LSU and the other one was at Alabama as far as back-to-back games that he played against him. So,
but he would have had to have beat him back-to-back in Tuscaloosa, though, right?
It shows 2004 back-to-back matchups, 2004 and 2007. So there was a gap in time between, but he still beat him in back-to-back matchups.
Saban got there in 07.
No,
Tuberville won that game.
Yeah,
against them in 07.
2004 was at Alabama, right?
I'm just saying that was still he was an LSU coach at that time. Is what my point was.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So he's beating Saban back to back, but not Saban and Alabama back to back.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And then he had some back to back stuff. But I'm talking about at Alabama. So just a point of clarity because I saw some questions in the chat about it. So
anyway, and actually, I think John Gill here. Les Miles beats. I'm trying to think. The LSU beat Alabama in 2010 because they lost 3 games. 2-3. I know he beat them in 11. That was a classic matchup between LSU and Alabama where they won 9-6 in overtime. LSU did. That was at Tuscaloosa. Did LSU beat Alabama at LSU in 2010?
They lost. They lost 24-21.
Who did?
In 2010.
Alabama lost?
Did.
Okay, so Les Miles did it first. Hey, thank you, Les Miles. With your mediocre ass.
Yeah, it's
big man, boy.
Yeah, listen, it's not an easy task to do, but unfortunately, you will be measured by this barometer, whether you like it or not, because they are the gold standard of college football right now, and it just happens to be your biggest rival. So you can't so if you guys are wondering why we're talking about this, he can't escape this. And I think that you do that with defense. That's why bringing these kids in, every single one of these kids that they bring in, it is another piece on the board for Hugh Freeze in trying to solve the puzzle of developing that consistency on defense.
Yeah.
I really believe because they're going to have their ups and downs on offense. I think that, their best bet this year is hold people to under 17 points a game. That's the mark. That's the mark that I'm giving him. And you will have a chance to win every single game you're in.
That's a phenomenal defense in this day and age to hold people under 17 points per game.
Yeah, it is, right? And I maybe sound like I'm setting the bar really high, but that's where it is in the SEC West. Yeah. If you want to compete, you have to be spectacular at something. Right? There are no. I mean, listen. You're not mid in winning the SEC West.
Let's clarify too. Like, if we're talking about winning the West, then you need to be 17 points
or competing for the West, right? Like, you know what I'm saying.
I think. So year one, 17 points per game is pretty high.
Yeah,
that's high.
Yeah. I should have clarified. I'm not expecting that in year one, but. You should be building toward. There should be some clear.
Oh, for sure. I think everybody wants us to be in that range. Year 2 or 3. If we have some continuity with the coordinators,
right?
I think that's the space that you want to be building towards for sure.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. What was like the last 2 seasons? I want to say Georgia was in the 11, 12 points per game allowed.
Yeah,
it was
something crazy low.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Chad, help me out here. I'm pretty sure they were below 15 points per game. Right. And so, the teams that were coming up behind them were, somewhere in the area of 5 to 7 points more than that allowed per game. But, it kind of underlines what a statistical anomaly that 2010 Auburn defense was.
Oh, yeah, we were. But I mean, when you got a guy on the other side who can do what Cam can do, it's also a good indicator of what a strong running game that can possess the ball can do for an overmatched defense. I just need you to get a stop here and there. Like, I'm going to possess the ball. If you can be fresh, get me the ball back, I'm going to possess the ball for way too long. Then I'm going to wear the other team out. It's hand in hand, man. We give a lot of credit. One of the reasons I always might give it too much credit to Tom Brady, because his Super Bowl winning years, Belichick had put a championship, either a top 5 NFL defense on the other side. There's a reason why Tom Brady was winning those championships, man. The defense was giving the offense many opportunities, keeping the score low, but the same thing works the other way around too. The offense can help that defense if the defense isn't performing up to stuff, hand in hand. And we need those hands to be working together, and not what it was in 2014. Like that performance that we put on in 2014 in the Iron Bowl, there's no reason we should have walked away from putting 44 points on an Alabama and Nick Saban Alabama team at Tuscaloosa
and lost.
How? What was the last time we scored over 27? I have no idea when was the last time anybody put up that many points on Nick Saban at Tuscaloosa. There's no way we should have lost that game. But of course, we know that's how it went.
Yeah, get to the quarterback, right? This year, Alabama is going to have somebody back there that can be got. Looking at their stable of quarterbacks right now, I'm telling you, these dudes can be rattled. There's not a Bryce Young back there this year.
No, there's not.
There's not Bryce. There's not a Bryce Young back there this year. Find a way to get to whoever is back there, whether it's this kid from Notre Dame or one of the two that looked, like they took steps back at Alabama's spring game. Now, who knows? Maybe the season starts and one of these 5 stars, Milroe, was just like, psych, I just had a bad spring.
Yeah, I mean, Milroe is one of those kind of, and Robbie Ashford type of guys where his ability to throw the ball is not his biggest asset as a quarterback, right? Like, you have to mix in the fact that he's going to be able to run, and you can't really gauge that during the spring. So he is a dynamic athlete, and that's going to be the bigger challenge for him. Same thing when you look at the LSU quarterback, Jaden Daniels, right? Like, he's not going to wow a lot of people with his arm talent, but the mix of the arm talent and the athleticism. Same thing for KJ Jefferson, right? Like, there are guys in our league right now who it's not just about their pocket ability, it's about their athleticism as well. And that's where I think we're going to have to figure out with some of these guys that we're bringing in from the edge position. Can they have enough discipline to match up with these athletic quarterbacks and not lose contain? Because that's what's going to be tough, right? Bryce Young was not a willing runner. Right? He wanted to sit in the pocket and analyze, and he was going to be a little bit more patient in the pocket. So if you could apply pressure to him, you could get to him. He was squirrely enough to get out of there, but he wanted to operate from the pocket. How many players in our league right now want to operate from the pocket? Right? The kid at Mississippi State, whose name is evading me.
Will Rogers.
Will Rogers wants to operate from the pocket.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be it.
Well, shout out to Kenny B, Graham Mertz.
Well, that will play. I'll say that's on Auburn's schedule in the SEC, right? Like, I don't even know who the quarterback at Vandy is going to be, but if they're going to try to get back into what made them successful last year, they're going to have a dynamic athlete in the mold of Mike Wright, right? So they're not they're not just going to sit there and do that. So you're going to have guys who either they're sudden enough to make it happen before that guy has a time to adjust, which is why I love the addition of a guy like Jalen McLeod, because I think that he is a quick get into the pass rush game fast and make that quarterback have to speed up his thinking. But I mean, whoever wins maybe the quarterback battle at Georgia, that might be the only true pocket passer that we see the entire year from the SEC.
Yeah, pocket passing as a skill. If you're going to have a pocket passer in an offense that is really made for somebody to sling it, it takes time to develop that guy. And SEC coaches don't really have that type of leeway. They just don't. They don't get enough time to go, hey, well, this is what's going to do. We're going to build it. We're going to build the offensive line. Yeah, you fired, buddy. Get out of here. So we don't have that kind of time. Brian Kelly had a pocket passer there, and by all accounts, there was positive about the guy who was at LSU before Jaden Daniels came in. He stayed there
Garrett
after they
Nussmeier.
had Nussmeier. So we saw a little bit of him the prior year. We were like, I don't know, man. This dude can kind of sling it. Brian Kelly was like, nope, look, it's going to take too long. Come in here, Jaden Daniels. You've already played. You know how to use your legs. You're decisive enough to run this offense. Let's go win some games. And to his credit, it worked. Now, would it have worked with Nussmeier trying to learn a whole new offense? And even with Jaden Daniels, it looked rough at first. Like, I don't know. He's all right. He just had to get in a flow, because what it comes down to, if you are a running quarterback who has that option, you just have to know when to run. If you are athletic enough, you can get whatever the defense is giving you. They had enough dynamic talent at wide receiver to be threats, and the rest of it just goes. Now, I still don't think they were a dynamic offense. I remember games like Arkansas. It was like 14-13 or something like that? Like, they didn't light it up all the time. Whatever. They could still be decisive enough, control the game with the run, and win enough games, close games too, especially, like I said, the one at home against Bama. As long as that's possible, I see why guys are going with the dual threat quarterbacks first. The throwing quarterbacks are an investment, and not enough coaches get the leeway to make that investment at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting to see what level of patience fans have with the offense next year, right? Like, at what point in time, and Mike, you've talked about this a few times, how short a leash is the starting quarterback going to have this year?
Yeah.
And at what point in time are fans going to start to get antsy and say, hey, we want to see the backup? Is it going to take a minute for us to get this product to look like something like the first couple of games of the season? They should be able to light up the scoreboard. But if we don't, right, if we go out to Cal and we only put up 24 points and some of that comes off of a great defensive performance or something like that, are people going to start to get antsy early in the season?
Yeah, like, listen, this is Hugh Freeze's line of fire, right? Is scoring points. Having an offense that can not only move the ball, but finish the job in the red zone. And it's been just such a trial for Auburn over the years, having an offense that feels a little more automatic inside the 20. And the years that they've been able to do it, they've competed for championships.
Right.
I want to hear me out. That is not even a stretch what I just said.
Yeah.
That is absolute fact. When Auburn has been good finishing off drives in the red zone 3 years, or 4 years or 5 years in the last, 20 or whatever, they have competed for championships. 2004, right? 2006. People forget that was an 11-2 squad. 2010, 2013, 2017. Right. And 2017 was a Gus team. So, like, when they did struggle, the struggles that they did have were the reason that they didn't make it to the playoff. They were untimely struggles. So, you've got to have, if you're going to be a team that competes for the division, and then you've got to have a good red zone offense. And Hugh Freeze talked about this. He talked about bringing in an offensive coordinator that could help improve his offense in this area. Right. He said, I feel like I do some things well. There's some guys out there to do some things well inside the 20. We're going to try to marry the systems and see if we can come up with something that's highly effective and highly efficient. So, it's going to be interesting, but, bringing it full circle back to this kid that they're bringing in, at defensive end / Jack. Right. I think having a solid year in year one. And when I say solid year, I mean, to me, that's 6 to 8 wins in year one. Job number one for this team is make a bowl game. But your defense has to allow you some latitude to figure things out on offense over the first third of the season. Right. With the schedule, the way the schedule sets up. Samford, Cal, these easy games that you got to start. You get a chance to figure out what your offense is, what you do well, and you got to hold these teams to low points, and then hopefully by the time you get into true SEC play, which is Texas A&M, you've got it figured out.
Yeah.
Right, your defense is solid, and you know what you are on offense, so you can play to your strengths and then continue to improve from there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be imperative that the first 3 games, like I said, that fans have a little patience with the product, or conversely, not get too excited if it's going extremely well against these mediocre teams early. Because this is the trap I think people fell into the first year of Coach Harsin, which is we go out there and we put up like 60 points in the first game. And like, oh, we're so back. And it's like, it was Akron. Settle down. It was Alabama State.
Yeah.
Let's settle down.
And Georgia State settled everybody down.
Yeah, but the wheels fell off against Ole Miss, right? Like Ole Miss it just, for whatever reason, it just
we beat Ole Miss the first year.
I know, but the second half of that game, we didn't score any points. We scored like 3 points.
But they didn't either. So nobody was incredibly alarmed yet.
Right. But that was the harbinger of this ain't going so right. But we didn't see it then. If you look back at it, you look at the second half of Ole Miss and you're like, that's when it fell apart. That's we started going downhill second half of Ole Miss. Now, Georgia State should have told you something about our defense, really more so than our offense. It was telling you, you don't have that man, Zacoby there, you're in trouble on defense.
Zacoby or nothing.
But second half of Ole Miss was basically like the signpost to say, I don't know, cuz. And it became the pattern for the next year. Right, like it was like every game, it was pretty much second half. We ain't gonna do nothing. We're gonna come out.
First half weren't great year 2 of Harsin either. Our first half.
I'm just saying though, but you had there. So here's the things that I love about coaches, specifically offensive-minded coaches. Right, is they figure out either how to come out and put great game plans together and then sustain momentum enough to win games, or they realize it's going poorly and they can make adjustments throughout the game. And you realize second half of that game, they're going to come out and do something way different. And they're going to figure out what they need to do. It seemed as if because we had the inability to do the second of those things, if we didn't do the first, we had no prayer in that game. No prayer whatsoever.
Yeah. That
showed itself in the Arkansas game last year. We didn't come out and couldn't put up points. And it was just, we came back in the second half downhill. Penn State, second half, that people forget Penn State was a contest at half. And had it not been for turnovers in the first half, Auburn would have gone into the half probably with a lead in that game. The second half was so bad that it made you feel like Penn State whooped us up and down the field for 4 quarters. And that's just not true. Go back and watch the game. We were in that game and came out at halftime was like, all right, we did enough.
Yeah.
Man, that was embarrassing.
Yeah,
it hurt so bad.
I remember thinking that we were going to have preseason. I thought we were going to have something for them because going there and losing a tight
revenge,
like
we're going to come back.
You thought, oh man, I said some things I regret. Go ahead.
Oh man. Looking back at it, it was definitely bad. But listen, we're going to go to the chat. We're going to get a couple of comments from you guys. Thank you all who have tuned in from Facebook. If you're here on Facebook, after we get back from the break, we're going to have to say goodbye to you guys. We appreciate you tuning in. Come over to the YouTube stream. But before we let you guys go, let's go here to the comment section and see what we got. Juice Heist says, what other positions of need do we have? I feel like Coach Hugh Freeze has plugged all visible holes. Any thoughts on positions of need still left for this team?
Well, what do you think of the guys who we have at wide receiver? We have more bodies. We have bigger bodies.
Right.
Do they have the exact skill sets that Hugh Freeze is looking for? Obviously, if it's not just height, because Landon King will still be here.
Yeah,
I mean, he wanted height.
Guys, right? So there's a couple of things that you have to have as far as this system is concerned. There is a certain level of speed that he wants, right? Like you need to be able, and I've said this a few times, and I'll say it again for those who've never heard me say it, that wide receivers win in 3 ways, right? He wants guys who have at least 2 of those 3 as a makeup, right? He wants a guy, either he's going to win off the line of scrimmage, he's going to win at the break point, which is at the top of the route, because in the top of the route for this system, it's more about understanding whether or not you need to continue that route or break it off because of what the defense is playing. And then you need guys who can win at the catch point. So if you didn't get separation, can I still throw you the ball and you're open, right? So you got a guy most recently in Jair, last name Shorter, that is a guy who can win at the catch point. Now, can he win at the catch point at this level? Yet to be seen.
Right.
You've got a guy in Camden Brown who can win at the catch point. We've got some catch point, contest catch guys. I think we have some guys who can win off of the line of scrimmage. I don't know that we have many of the combo guys,
The
right?
route
Like
running.
guys who can they can run the route well, and if they're not open, you can still throw it to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know that we have that guy on this team, which is why the scheme is going to be so much more important. When you can't just say, I'm always open, throw me the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Can you scheme guys open and get some separation in those ways? So back to the question that you asked, what do I feel about this wide receiver room? I think it's good. A lot of it's going to come down to how accurate is the quarterback, though, because I don't feel like we have an issue with guys who won't be able to catch the ball if it's thrown their way. How accurate is the quarterback going to be?
Yeah, I just think it's no way to know how good the wide receiver room is right now with how poor the passing game has been.
For sure.
Right? Yeah, like they just have not had the in-game reps. They haven't had the opportunities to show what they can do, and we've seen it in flashes at times when accurate passes have been thrown. But over the last half of last season, I just felt so bad for those guys, man, with the ground and pound that they had to do, right? To just not have the end of the season be a complete disaster. You had a quarterback with a hurt shoulder the entire season. You had a coaching mess, right? And you had essentially what was a moving target in terms of offensive philosophy the entire year. Some stability. One of the things that I noted about Rivaldo is that when you watch his tape, his quarterback at FIU was extremely accurate getting him the ball over the middle of the field. He was catching the ball in stride a lot. And as a result, all his yak yards were insane. And so once he caught the ball, he was able to use his natural athleticism to stiff arm guys, break tackles, and get upfield. If the quarterback can do that for the receivers this year, then I think that you'll see that the talent we're not as bereft of talent at that position as people think.
Yeah.
That's why people like Heather Dinich come in, watch one practice, and then they're like, it's going to be rough.
Yeah.
Now, she's not wrong, right? It just, there's nuance to that.
Yeah. It's a premature assessment of something that was a very early product, right? Like that would have been like us walking into that foundry and being like, I wouldn't cook on this, and we're sitting here watching molten steel get poured.
Right.
And it's like, I don't think you're not supposed to, this is not the finished product that you're grading.
Yeah, it comes like right off the press, and we're like, I ain't cooking on that. No, of course you're not. I mean, it's got like 8 more processes to go through before it's ready to be used. I just think football is football. You've heard some of the old heads said, listen, man, football is blocking, passing, catching, right, and hitting. And throwing and catching has been a part of football for as long as football has been. So, if you have a quarterback that throws accurate passes, a wide receiver, he goes out there and he runs a route is a route. Go out there, win your route, and deliver him an accurate football, and he'll probably catch it.
Right.
Acting like we had. I think this was the problem that I had with our wide receivers. The criticism of our wide receivers Harson's first year,
right? When
people were talking about drops. And what I saw when I watched the tape were passes that were all over the place.
Right.
And as a receiver, you're almost practicing adjusting to a pass is not going to be accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the games where that consistency and accuracy was there, they look just fine. We weren't talking about the receivers. So if it is Thorne that brings that consistency to the wide receiver room, great. I'm all about it because I think that that's probably the most important. If the line can block, the most important thing will be that consistency for the quarterback in the passing game. Throw accurate passes on routine routes, and then let your playmakers make plays after that.
Yeah,
that's what you have to do. If you cannot do that, then it's going to be tough, I think, for the wide receivers, going into the season, because asking this group of inexperienced receivers to go out and bail the quarterback out, it's just not reasonable.
Right.
That's why you go out and you get a quarterback like Peyton Thorne, hoping that he brings that to the room.
Right.
And if it's not him, then you have to hope that Robbie Ashford has made the jump and he becomes that quarterback. Either way you need it. You don't get away from it.
Right. Yeah,
You don't get away
it's
from
gonna
it.
be important for these first weeks of the summer while they're trying to figure all these things out. They figure out how to get on the same page in that wide receiver room because, as we've noted, I don't think it's a talent disparity that we have. So if we can figure out how to unearth the talent that's in that room, then we'll be just fine. The question was about any holes. I think that we're good. If they didn't sign another player, I think we would be fine.
Right.
But I'm glad that they've gone out and they've added some more depth because injuries are going to happen. Other things are going to preclude players from hitting the field. You need to make sure that you have enough depth in those rooms that you don't feel the hit of that too hard. We're going to go to our break here, pay some bills. Again, thank you to those of you who've joined us on Facebook. Come over to YouTube to finish the rest of this conversation, but let's hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be back talking about Coach Hugh Freeze and the job he's done overall in the transfer portal weekend tailgate. This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Harmon Mechanical, a heating and air company offering premier service to the Auburn area and surrounding areas. Give them a call at 334-219-0717 or head over to their website at harmonmechanical.com. Let them know the War Report sent you. Harmon Mechanical. We're there when you need air. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. For all of your motor oil and related products, head over to wareagleoil.com.
Guys, become a patron member. We got lots of great patron content coming for you guys. You definitely don't want to miss this. The film reviews have been outstanding. There's not really anything like this consistently out there. Ike is doing a great job on that stuff. And do not lose access during the season. The Watch the Films will go into every game, after the game, looking at the ins and outs in a way that I'm telling you is content you're not going to get anywhere. So become a patron member. And this is a great way to support our channel. Like, you guys see our sponsors, but the truth is you can become a sponsor of the War Report by just signing up for a patron membership. $5.99 a month will help get you there. You can give the gift of the War Report by giving away the gifted membership. Look for that gifted membership button. YouTube chooses these at random. So if you interact with our channel at a high level and you have not made the decision to become a member of the War Report, this is your chance to maybe be on the receiving end of one. Please watch your email as these are given away. I want to thank one of our other sponsors, Harmon Mechanical. If you watch the morning drop, harmonmechanical.com. Call 334-219-0717. They're servicing the Auburn area. I got B. Will has used them to come out and check his HVAC. It's hot, guys. Southern humidity. I forgot about it. And it
is definitely a different animal.
Yeah, right. It's getting to me. Like, some days I sit down here and I'm like, I got to take a shower for my shower. Harmon Mechanical will help you stay cool and dry in your own house. So give them a call. Just great company. We appreciate them for sponsoring the War Report. We're on podcast. Check us out on podcast. Amen Corner, Mike Mack and Memes, podcast exclusive content. So there are some stuff. If you want more War Report, you can get us over on the podcast channels. Check us out on every single podcast platform there. Just a reminder, we're giving away a mug. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. At the 1 hour mark, we're going to draw for this. So that's in about 15 minutes. You don't want to miss that. We give something away every single live stream.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's get back into the conversation about Coach Hugh Freeze. On3 put out a graphic. Maybe it's within the last week, asking who is the portal king, and then they had 4 coaches up there on this graphic. None of those coaches were Hugh Freeze, and I felt like that was ridiculous.
Shade.
However, forget the fact that On3 was trying to be silly. Let's talk about the reality of what has happened in the transfer portal.
Tell them who was on the graphic though.
It was
Dion.
Coach Prime, yeah. We had
Ryan
Mike
Day.
Norvell, the Florida State head coach. Who am I missing? Who are the other two? I just had it in our chat a minute ago. Let me pull it up real quick so I can make sure I have it correct.
I remember Prime, Norvell.
It was the guy from Wisconsin, right? And then USC. Was that the 4?
Yeah, it was Lincoln Riley. Right. It was Mike Norvell,
Louisville coach,
and Deion Sanders.
Louisville coach. That's who the other one was.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so let's be clear. Mike Norvell's killing it in the portal.
Yeah,
Florida
he's doing
State
good.
has definitely done amazing things in the portal. Deion had to do amazing things in the portal.
I was gonna say
he lost like half of his roster.
Yeah,
if
right?
they didn't, they wouldn't field a roster, right?
Yeah.
So he had to go and get a bunch of guys on there. Louisville, I mean, not bad. I'm not saying Louisville's done bad. I actually think I don't know why his name, Wisconsin's coach, who was the guy at the Panthers, formerly from Baylor. Who is the freaking coach at Wisconsin right now?
At Wisconsin, it's Luke Fickell from Cincy.
Is that who it is at Wisconsin right now?
Yeah,
it's Nebraska that I'm thinking about. Excuse me, the guy from the Nebraska.
Matt Rule.
I think Matt Rule's actually done a really good job in the portal offseason.
Agreed.
Luke Fickell actually has done a good job as well. But how is Hugh Freeze not in this conversation?
Well, you know what? So when you have this conversation, there needs to be some caveats and some context for the conversation. Firstly, what did you lose and what did you replace it with?
Correct.
Because
the quality of the player that you replaced it with is as important as the number of players that you replaced.
Yes. And right now, I think they're rewarding number of players a lot. So we know
they
Auburn
do in regular recruiting. So it's not necessarily a new numbers game, but continue.
Right. So we know that Auburn we lost. What was the total that we lost? Did we lose 10 total players?
I think so.
Right.
So we've now matched, I think with the signing of Singh, we've matched the number of players that we lost with additions. So we net zero as far as change in the roster overall. And I think, I want to say, I can't remember the service. I think it was a rival service that had graded out the players as 10 points better. The players that exited were an average of 65 out of 100. The players that came in are an average of 75 out of 100. And that's just averaging their overall player evaluation scores. That's a win. We know that we have addressed needs, offensive line, linebacker, defensive end / edge. We have addressed those needs to an extreme degree. Even with the addition of Thorne, is he a heralded 5-star quarterback? No, but serviceable and I want to say a decent floor makes a difference because our floor has been wild here for the last 4 or 5 years at quarterback.
Right.
Needs have been addressed in a way that they haven't been addressed here. I don't really know the last time we had a coaching staff that says, hey, we need this. Let's go get exactly a lot of this stuff. Yeah, Gus could always get a good wide receiver and running back. Always. And if we didn't need him, he's going to get 2 or 3 more. Whatever we did need, he's going to get more of it. But it didn't help our team because our offensive line was just woeful. Offensive line was the most critical need. Hugh Freeze filled that need and then put a little extra on top after filling that need. That's what we needed. And that's why I feel like what he's done in the portal is so impressive and so important because it's been almost exclusively needs down to the last couple of edges that we're getting here with the last part of the cycle. We still needed edges. Could he have brought in another quarterback? Sure, but we didn't need another quarterback. We needed edges. We had McAllister. After everybody that departed after the spring, we had McAllister. Who else do we have that had played snaps at edge here?
That's going to be it, bro.
That's
Hayden
it.
Bryce was on the team, but he hadn't played very many snaps, but that's it.
So we needed this. I think that value should bump up a little bit, but under the circumstances, I'm sure that they're looking at other coaches and their ability to kind of turn, I don't want to say turn teams around because what Colorado has is an extreme need that Prime kind of created. So
yeah, right.
So he did that, yeah.
For context, right? Auburn, according to services that rank such things, has the 3rd ranked portal class.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's not on this list is ridiculous by that measure alone.
Yeah. 2,
Deion has brought in 48 portal guys. 48. That's over twice as many as the next closest competitor, right? Like, I don't even think there's anybody who's brought in 30 portal commits in the top 25 of those rankings, right? Let alone almost 50. So, let's go there, right? Like, I think Arizona State brought in
And for
29.
context, right, 85 is the total number of scholarship athletes you can
You're
have
allowed,
on the team.
right?
And he brought 48 of them in.
So he over half of his team is from the portal.
Right.
That's crazy. So Hugh Freeze brought in 20. Now, of the coaches that they feel like are in the conversation for Portal King, right? Only 2 of them have a portal class that's ranked higher than Auburn's, USC and Colorado. For Colorado, I think we're pretty clear it's a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not really about the quality of their commits.
Yeah, because
Right?
they picked up somebody at wide receiver, Tavares Dawson, who wasn't going to get snaps here.
Right. They literally picked up almost 50 guys.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know that makes you a portal king. That just means that's what you had to do because your first speech to the team was, I ain't going to need most of y'all. So,
and to be clear about that, it's not as if there's a dearth of people in the portal. There's a ton of guys to pick from in the portal. And if you're not getting the best of those guys that are available, are you really the king of it just because you got more of them?
Yeah, come on, man. Like, listen, I'm not trying to hate on D. I'm just saying, leaving Hugh Freeze off this list is ridiculous, right? Now, it makes sense that in the SEC, Auburn had one of the most ads via the portal. As a matter of fact, I think the only school that had more ads via the portal than Auburn was Ole Miss,
Which
maybe.
That is par for the course for
right.
The train.
Yeah, and it was like one more,
Mm-hmm.
As of right now. So, he had to add guys because when you have a team that misses a bowl game, that, for the second year straight, that rarely misses a bowl game. Well, no, I'm sorry, not for the second year straight, right?
We just lost our bowl game.
Yeah. We lost the bowl game, right?
Yeah.
It's expected that there's going to be turnover on the roster in trying to right that ship. So, for a team like Auburn to have the most portal commits right in this cycle, I expect that number to stem off quite a bit as he starts to stabilize the roster and stabilize recruiting. You're going to see fewer and fewer portal commits. And when they do go out and get a guy, it's going to be somebody high profile who will come in and have an immediate impact, or, maybe provide just a little bit more depth at an area where you're okay, but you'll take another guy because he's available. So, you're going to see that this is not the way to build a program. This is not a way to build a program. The portal was a way for, I think, talent that may have been buried on a roster somewhere at a better school to get someplace where they could play.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, all the programs that are going to have longevity in terms of winning are still building their program through recruiting out of high school. So, Portal King and this, I don't really care who the Portal King is. It just kind of irks me that they overlooked the job that he did in the portal, given what he had to replace, how they attacked just areas of need and just didn't go out and get warm bodies, and still had the 3rd ranked portal class. And one of the people who ranked in front of him just brought in almost 50 portal guys.
Yeah.
Hugh Freeze did a better job in the portal than Deion Sanders.
So, and why I agree with you wholeheartedly is I think a portion of your ability in the portal is to convince guys to not leave.
Correct.
Right.
Like, it's not just a pure, let me go out there and get talent. It is, I recognize the talent in this room. Let me find a way to keep you on my roster so that I don't have to go backfill you.
Right. It's part of recruiting that gets overlooked, Ike, right? Yeah. Is convincing guys to come back.
Yeah.
Tuberville's best recruiting job in his whole time at Auburn was convincing Ronnie Brown and Cadillac to return for the 2004 season.
Right.
Because in that building that year, we were convinced one of them was gone.
Oh, for sure.
When they both announced they were coming back, everyone was like, wait, what? You did what? And don't forget, that was a running back room that had Brandon Jacobs in it at one point, too, with those 2 guys.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was nuts how much talent they had in there.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I think he transferred to like Northern Illinois or something like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had a pretty good pro career, but they went all in on Ronnie and Cadillac. Mm-hmm. And they told Brandon, like, hey, man, listen, they tried to move him to linebacker. That dude was scary, man. Like, but he wanted to play running back. It was a good choice for him.
Yeah.
But they went to the two that they were betting on, and they convinced them to come back. Hugh Freeze is going to have to do that if he wants to build a stable program. You can't have talent walking out the door. He's got to be able to convince guys to wait and understand. This is why I say, when we talked about messaging, it's, part of this is the players understanding what the plan for them is so that you have the chance to re-recruit them in the era of the portal.
Right.
You got to re-recruit your players every year.
That's why, and we have to give a tremendous amount of props to guys like Cadillac and Zach Etheridge here, right? Because Tamari Austin could have walked this offseason. They brought in Brian Battie. He could have said, "Hey, look, man, I don't know what you guys are doing around." He stuck around. Having DJ James not go to the NFL last year.
Yep.
Huge for this secondary to have a guy like him say, "I'm going to come back for my senior year," when he was going to get drafted. Let's be clear about it. DJ James would have been drafted. Now, how high would he have been drafted? I don't know, but he'd have been on somebody's draft board. For him to come back and say, "My draft stock is not as high as I want it to be. I'm going to come back and play another year." Zach Etheridge, thank you, sir, for whatever bug you put in his ear to say, "Man, you come back next year, it's going to be special." Him returning was a stabilizing force for that defensive backfield. So we've got talent on this team. They were able to convince that talent to stay. It's going to be very interesting to see how it changes, because here's where the issue for me, and this is why I understand people are going to be mad because I'm going to bring up the messaging thing. That old message isn't going to work in year 2, because now I know how you sweet talk me. Now I need to see whether or not that sweet talk turns into some real things on the field, right? Like you can't just sell me a dream this time. Right. You gotta prove it to me during the season. So he's got a lot of proving to do during the year to say, all that stuff that you promised me last offseason, we need to see it manifest into something this year.
And on leverage. Leverage. Yeah. Winning is leverage, because you don't have leverage right now. You have potential. You have a promise, and that promise has not been kept or broken. If they stuck with the program and they stayed and they saw enough of the offense that you said they would see, and this is why it's more important. I think earlier, Mike, you were like 6 to 8 wins, right? That's depending on how the 6 looks. 6 is kind of low. I say 7 to 9, but in the same neighborhood.
I just meant make a bowl game.
Yeah. Right, I think make a bowl game is bare minimum. If you lose 6 games, that means you lost to somebody, especially after the portal haul we had, that has less talent than you. Yeah, and I don't think that he can afford to do that. But this is why he needs to win early, because win early, I think 8 wins is probably what we need here. Because if you win 8, it means some semblance of the offense that you tried to put together started to look like something. And you were able to convince the wide receiver recruits that you're targeting, the quarterback. Well, you already got your quarterback for the next season, but you can actually convince the wide receiver recruits, maybe even a wide receiver transfer that's a much bigger target. Hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And we actually started to do it. This is what it looks like. It's not just, man, I think you'll get this. No, I promise you're going to get this many targets, because Peyton Thorne's going to stick around for year 2 and take it to the next level. Year 2 at Auburn and take it to the next level. Or we've got somebody behind him who already is with the system. The system is in place. Now we're just going to hit the ground running. The defensive line, look what we did. Look how many sacks we did. Look how much we attacked from that position. That's what we want you to do and get those snaps. Come in here, keep the train running for us. He has to show proof of concept, because if you break the promise to the people that are on this roster with what you don't show during the season, but they're going to get out of here. And now you got to do a whole nother sale job to a whole bunch of people who haven't heard it yet. But that's when you get into the cycle where you're talking about, Mike, where every year I have to make a pitch and convince and be a salesman to a new group of 10, 12, 15 guys that I got what they need. That Auburn is the place where they can pitch a tent for a last year or 2. And that's not the situation you want to be.
Well, to be clear, you already had to do that. This just means you have to do it to a higher percentage of your roster than normal. Right? It's more guys you have to do that with now. Or you're going to be in the portal every year. It's it's retention, right? And consistency is what's helping teams win championships consistently or compete consistently.
Yeah.
Right. reducing the amount of turnover and attrition that you have year over year, returning guys who understand what the assignment is and what the expectation is and what the culture is and can lead because they've developed the experience in your system and in your program, so that when new players come in, there is a solid foundation in terms of leadership, right? And there's an example set on what's expected, how we're going to work, and how we're going to win as a team. It is hard to accomplish when you have to replace 33% of your roster every year.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can't do that, right? I think this is a problem that college basketball has.
Yes.
Now, play one year, gone, and then you have to rebuild it every year. That's why the
college coaches in basketball have an impossible job.
It's hard right now. If you're a team that wins, if you're Bruce Pearl, think about if you could have kept starting with Isaac Okoro. If you could have kept your best recruit every year for 4 years,
just 2. I mean,
Auburn would have had a team with Sharif Cooper, Isaac Okoro, and Jabari Smith after 3 years. And possibly Walker Kessler.
And probably still JT Thor a couple of years.
Yeah, like, come on, man. How ridiculous would that team have been?
Yeah.
And that's all I'm saying is that, in college football, you have because of the rule that says you have to be, 2 years removed or 3 years removed from high school to go to the NFL, you have a chance to do that. But now that's been mitigated by the fact that your best players at some positions who might be next in succession could, if they don't believe in the plan for them, jump for another school.
Right.
And that creates that same hole just in a different way. You're not losing them to the pros. You're just losing them to the next program.
Right.
Correct.
Yikes, man. That's tough. That's really tough. So they've got to have an internal plan for that. This is where NIL, I think, comes in a little bit. Hey, just wait your turn. Here's a bag.
Yeah.
Here's a truck. Here's a house on Lake Martin, if you're good enough. Wait your turn. So we'll see how he decides to manage it.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Again, year 2, this year, I don't like to call it make or break, but this year is definitely going to have to be. He's going to have to show something on the field this year, and that's to get high school recruiting ramped up in the way that they really want to, and that's to convince the guys who still have eligibility left, who may be getting a little antsy, sitting around that room, right, in the facility, saying, it's supposed to be my turn next, or hey, if I'm a wide receiver, they're never going to throw the ball here, and let me go somewhere where they're actually going to throw the ball. Or if I'm a backup quarterback, I'm not sitting around and waiting anymore. If I'm a defensive lineman, the rotation's not working. From whatever it is, whatever job you use to convince guys to stay past the time where they could leave, it's show improved time coming up into the summer, getting into the fall, to really talk to them about what's the plan and the progression for me to see playing time, and how am I going to get into a position. What do I need to show them to prove to you I can be an every down starter here at this school?
Yeah,
if we don't figure out what that communication plan is, next year is going to look really, really scary, because we've got a lot of draft eligible guys that if they have a good enough year, they're out of here. And you've got a lot of talented guys who are not seeing the field, who are going to say, I don't see the plan coming together. They're out of here. And you're going to look at a Colorado situation that has absolutely nothing to do with a locker room speech.
Mm-hmm. Did y'all see Peyton Thorne's truck?
I did see the picture of that. Yeah.
He got a truck from a local dealership, and they were like, congratulations, Peyton. Or he was like, thanks for hooking me up with a truck, right? And I don't know if he bought it or if it was part of some NIL deal. It kind of seemed like it was part of an NIL deal. I think that Jarquez got a similar truck from the same dealership. Thought I remember seeing an Instagram post from him where he posted something. But I brought that up to say this. Those kind of things I think will be really important for retention, when players know when you come to Auburn, there are certain fringe benefits that you can expect, especially if you're good. Right. I don't know how much trucks cost, guys. I know it's Alabama. There's a lot of truck guys, I'm sure, in the chat. but from what I understand, some of those Chevys can be they're like $60,000-$70,000 trucks.
Oh no, trucks are
like they're not cheap vehicles. It's not like, hey, here's a little pickup. I mean, that was a monster of a truck that he got. So if I can expect a truck from the local dealership on some sort of NIL deal, yeah, I might think about sticking around.
Yeah,
because at least maybe that is a signal that they're planning on investing. Yeah, they really want to keep me here.
Right,
for sure.
Right. And so I believe a little bit more in the plan because I hate to say it this way, they're kind of putting their money where their mouth is as it's
They're
concerned.
making an investment, like you said. If you're making an investment in a player, it shows your belief in that player a little bit more. And so that's why it's important for people to go out there and, be a part of the NIL collective. So they have more money as a baseline to be able to provide to these athletes. And then they have opportunities for the local communities, a lot of great local businesses. B. Will, didn't you get a chance to go over to the coffee shop recently that's out there? Our guy, Josh Miller, out there with the
did make a trip out
coffee
there.
shop. Businesses like that wanting to get involved. Golden's Cast Iron being a fairly local business. Harmon Mechanical, right? Like there are businesses that I don't know why if you're in the Auburn area and you have the availability, you're not going to Baumhower's as often as you can to just go get some wings, bro. Like if they're going to keep feeding the offensive linemen, they got to stay in business. Make sure you go buy some wings from Baumhower's, man.
Right. All right. You hear that, Baumhower's? We're sending people to you.
Yeah, man. We got to make sure that the businesses that are helping to undergird what we have from an NIL situation continue to get business.
Yeah, that's totally it. That's exactly what we're doing.
Sure.
Listen, man, we'll continue the conversation here in just a second, but we got to do a giveaway. We are giving away a mug, again, courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Go ahead and throw hashtag Get Your Weight Up here in the comments. If you haven't already, then sad days for you because y'all know I'm clicking the button and I'm not waiting on you. You had 46 people have the opportunity. Somebody's got to win a mug. GWT2 Energy Consulting Services sponsoring a mug giveaway to Ephesians 2, 8, and 9. I don't know what that says, but I hope it says something really good. But thank you for being a part of it. Ephesians 2, 8, 9. If you are here, God bless you and come get your mug. Let us know what's up.
Let that be something about sacrificing your firstborn or something like that.
All right. But more on the conversation about the transfer portal and our ability to navigate it. Again, I think that Coach Freeze has proven that he has the ability, and this is a good thing. This is a thing that I think he can sell really well, to have transfer players come in and flourish in his system, right? Like he's done that in the past. When you look at what he's done at his stop at Ole Miss, what he did at Liberty, there are opportunities for guys to come in from the transfer portal and contribute immediately. And he has absolutely been selling that proposition openly.
Right.
To people, come here, get an opportunity to play. What would you right now put as the grade for Coach Hugh Freeze in the portal? We've graded him a few times. Now we're getting close to the end. What would you give as a portal grade for Coach Hugh Freeze so far?
Graded.
Hey, man, come on. This is year one, right? This is year one. And he went out and he got somebody at every single position he needed to. He said the right things now. He said, listen, we're not just going to go every time somebody pops up in the portal. Everybody's like, oh, what about this guy? And then we look at the tape and we're like, no, that's not what we're looking for. But it was not as if after he said that, they brought in nobody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I really feel like they got the guys they wanted. Now, as with any recruiting class, whether portal or high school, you got to go back and you got to re-rate them after we've seen them play.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Right. But as of right now, I think it has to be an A. In year one, you brought in the number 3 portal class, and the only dude that beat, and one of the only dudes that beat you had to bring in 50 guys. Right. The other guy it coached the Heisman winner last year.
Yeah.
And Lincoln Riley. Come on, man.
Yeah.
This is an A. This is an A. Any grade other than an A is not based.
Okay, and then I was about to say, now B Will's gonna come in and be like C plus.
I know.
No. It was not a
For dudes.
It wasn't a C.
Because he got
It wasn't
dudes.
a C Hall. It wasn't a. I was going back and forth between like B plus and A, and the only reason I was vacillating between those two was because could you have gotten some better prospects at the positions. Like he definitely loaded up, and we definitely improved. I say we went to like from C quality players to B quality players. Was it possible to go from C to A quality players in this first off season? I think being a new coach, not having your system proven here, not having your quarterback here, there's a lot that he can't show without getting on the field and showing it. So I think with that constraint, yes, it's an A job.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to give it an A as well. I think addressing areas of need and then the quality, at least on paper, of the talent that you use to address that. Because if he had landed every guy that we had been rumored to be leading with, it'd be an A plus, right? And we didn't do that.
Right.
And there were a lot of mitigating circumstances that led to some of those guys going elsewhere. But I don't know that I can give it anything less than an A minus, because again, you addressed areas of need. And you did it in a way that improved what we've talked about constantly is the floor of the room. I don't think we got worse players back for the guys that left. So stabilization is a good thing, and then upgrade in some spots is good. I do see our guy or girl, could be a girl, Ephesians 2:8-9 is here. We appreciate you being here. As always, you need to go ahead. I didn't mean to do that, but need to go ahead and send us an email at business@the-war-report to be able to get your mug, and we'll make sure that we get that out to you. Go ahead and send that email to us, and we'll get that out to you in the mail. We'll come back to that comment in just a minute. I want to address this super chat here, though, before we go to that comment. That super chat comes courtesy of Rick Cazenave, who says there's a strategy that you could follow that is a focus on the portal. A new team each year might work in b-ball, but football is too complex and chemistry driven. It could work. Yes. I think that chemistry is important in basketball as well. Like, I just don't know that you can just cycle through a new team every year and expect to be championship level. You could be good, but it's hard to be good year in, which is why people give a tough time to Coach Calipari. He's got a tough job. He's losing guys, 4 or 5 guys to the draft every year. And now he's losing guys to the draft and the portal every year and having to reload. It's hard to be a championship level team having to rework your chemistry every single year.
It is, but he's also getting paid like a championship coach. So boo-hoo Calipari. All right. You making a grip. How he's been there for what, like 13 years now or something? How long has he been at? Because he won there with Anthony Davis, right? What year was Anthony Davis drafted? And it wasn't the very first year either. It was when you've been there over 10 years, one championship for that kind of money. Hey, man, do something else. Can we do this again? Like Bill Self won a couple, Roy won a couple, Calipari, not Calipari, but even Krzyzewski in this era won at least one in the one and done era. You making way too much money to have only won one when you're getting the type of talent you get. I've been watching the NBA playoffs. It's like, oh, Kentucky. One championship? You've been there like 12 years, all these pros balling out in the playoffs. One championship? He getting over, but it's cool. I want him to stay there. Keep getting over. He's doing a good job. Real good job. Stand-up job. I really like what he's doing there in Kentucky.
Yeah, I have no problem with the job he's doing. But let's go back to this comment that I put up here, and I wanted to come back and address. And says, can we grade before seeing the production of the transfers landed? I'm going to say absolutely you can grade. We give draft grades every year to teams. Right. Now, you will have to go back and regrade and say, all right, in retrospect, how good was this actually? But the grade for me is not how are they going to produce on the field. It's on the paper, right? It's on paper. How well did you fill positions of need? And how well were you able to upgrade, at least again on paper, the talent in a room?
I also think that there are some guys that are kind of above the let me wait until they see how they produce, right? When Lincoln Riley went out and got Caleb Williams to transfer from Oklahoma, that wasn't a wait and see thing. We knew he was the starter walking into the door. You land him, he was the prize prospect of the portal that year, right? Especially at his position. So nobody's sitting back and saying, let me see how he's going to do, right? Like, we know how he's going to do. Now, there are only a few prospects out there like that every year.
Right.
But I think if you land one of those guys, you absolutely can definitely chalk. It's kind of like how in recruiting, if you land a top 10 overall prospect in the country, it bumps your class up like 15 spots or something crazy like that. Yeah. Right. And the reason is because we'll have to see how he's going to do. This is presumably a can't miss prospect.
Right.
Same way in the draft. If you get drafted in the top 10, you are widely believed to be, now they miss all the time, but the idea is that is somebody who has less a chance of busting than other people that you draft if they're taken in the top 10 in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
I think that recruiting is the same way. There are some guys that are in that tier of recruiting that when you get them, it jumps your class up. They're going to improve your team.
Yeah.
And the only way they don't is if you mess up.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Right. So I don't think it's applicable to every recruit you get in the portal. I just think some guys are just that good. Yeah. There's not a ton of them, but if you can start to get those guys, if you're Hugh Freeze, watch out.
Yeah. And also we can say, what were our needs? That's a big part of this that doesn't get factored into the evaluation of classes and grades. Did you feel needs? Well, they got the 5-star wide receiver, running back, and tight end. All right, they had a sophomore star starting in all those positions right now, but their offensive line sucks. So why didn't they get offensive linemen? That's something that we've had a problem with here going back to the middle of Gus's tenure. So addressing needs is something that it sounds easy, but the last two coaches for us weren't able to do it. So that changes my perspective of what his transfer job was in the portal this year. Did you address needs? We saw what linebacker looked like. As soon as Kobe McLean left Auburn, we haven't had high quality linebacker play.
Right.
Our linebackers now look like none of the guys who will start for us might be from Auburn. All of them could be transfer portal players between Keys and Nixon and
it's going to be, that's an interesting point. It's going to be interesting to see how many guys we have that start next year were not on this team last year. Like, what is going to be the number on? Because it's going to be a big number.
Yeah, it's going to be a big number. But
out of 22, well, they're going to release a 2-deep depth chart, right? Out of the 44 2-deep chart on both offense and defense. And maybe we'll answer this question at a later date in time when we get an opportunity to really look at those numbers. How many of those 44 players are going to be new guys? And I'm willing to bet over half.
Well, you don't bring in 20 guys because you're happy with the guys you have, right? Like,
right.
So I would assume that just the pure number of players brought in suggests that they're going to be a lot of new starters.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah, for sure. Last question here, or last comment, we're going to go with Juice Heist, who says the only coach with more 4+ star players out of the portal is Hugh Freeze on 3 out here acting like they're blind. Hugh Freeze has done a really good job with getting 4-star guys. Again, not just whoever, right? Listen, literally, not exaggeration, thousands of guys hit the transfer portal, right? And so it's not as if there's a dearth of availability of players, but mining for the right fits for your program and guys who are going to be good fits for what you need at a particular spot is so important. And it's good that I feel as if he did a great job of that particular thing. Guys, we need that fit the profile of what we want, not just anybody.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
All right. We are going to get out of here. We appreciate you guys locking in with us. We are here again, sponsored by Golden's Cast Iron. Make sure you guys head over to goldenscastiron.com to be able to be a part of getting these quality products. If you all aren't already members of the War Report, make sure you get your membership situation settled. I got some more film review coming for you guys this week, so make sure you lock in with us to be a part of that film review. Let me know if there's anybody in particular that you want to see some film on, football or basketball. I got football and basketball film. If you are a member and you want someone else to be a member of the War Report, you can go ahead and gift a membership for them. First month of membership is going to be on you. We're on podcasts everywhere. The Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. Make sure you guys listen to us on podcast. Before you get out of here, make sure that you click that like button and let us know that you love us. Like our videos subscribe to the channel right here on YouTube. Share the video with somebody else to keep the conversation going. Right down in the comment section, I want to hear from you. Whether you're an Auburn fan or not, how would you grade the job that Coach Hugh Freeze and this staff have done in the portal thus far? I think it's a fair discussion to have, even in the preseason before we see the results on the field. How do you feel like it's been done? Were there areas that you feel like could have been improved for this team and the transfer portal? There's an objective conversation around misses that happened out there. Be objective. Yeah. Tell us what you feel down there. Go and get on board with us on social media. We are the War Report on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. TW Report on TikTok. That's it, y'all. We are out of here. Until the next time, we'll be back at you all with the morning drop tomorrow morning, talking a little bit more about all Auburn sports. Auburn softball right now trying to advance to the next round. Did the job today of winning the first game in the rematch against Clemson in this regional. So they're trying to get to the super regional. Hopefully the girls are doing due diligence and getting that done today. Auburn baseball closed out the season with a sweep of Missouri. And for their trouble, they get Missouri in the SEC tournament in the first round, which is ridiculous. You got to beat the same team 4 times in a row. Yeah. We'll see how that goes, man. But anyway, we'll be back at you guys tomorrow morning with another morning drop. Until then, and as always, War Eagle, we're out of here. Peace.
War Eagle.